If you want to run a really professional and successful brand strategy workshop session, either for your own business or for a client's business, then you need to watch this full video because I'm going to be walking through my exact 8-step brand strategy workshop deck, which I use to facilitate all of my branding projects, my website projects for all of my high-ticket clients. And I've created this as a clonable Canva template for you down below. So go ahead, click on the link, grab it, and then come back and we'll walk through it all together. So once you click on the download link, you will be taken to this page. Go ahead and click on use template for new design and then sign into your Canva account, and it'll take you to this page, which means it's duplicated it to your own Canva workspace, and you can see everything is editable. You can go ahead and change the name of this to whichever brand or business name that you're facilitating this workshop deck for. So for the purpose of this, let's use emptistudio as an example. You can also go ahead and customize this deck to make it your own, update the colors, update the font so that it matches your brand, and then go ahead and on this cover page you can change the facilitator name to your name and the date of this workshop, so it's easy to organize and you can come back to it knowing exactly when this occurred. And there is a few locations here that says brand name, and go ahead and change all of this to match the name of this business or brand that you're hosting this workshop for. There's one more here towards the end. I'll be guiding you through all of it. But essentially, especially if you're running this workshop for clients, sure this is already pre-filled out because you'll be prompting them to think about the brand, so make sure you don't have a placeholder that says brand name. So essentially, depending on what you're hosting this workshop for, whether it's for yourself, in that case you can kind of just dive straight in and follow the prompts. But if you're hosting the session like I am for a group of key stakeholders, so I work with a lot of businesses to work on redesigning the whole brand identity and the whole website. So there's usually multiple stakeholders like the founder and maybe even the COO, the chief of growth, etc. So what you need to do first of all is you need to set the tone for this workshop as a facilitator. So imagine this is going to be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people in a room if you're in person, or in a call. You have to go ahead and say, hey everybody, I'm Annie, I'm a designer. We are hosting this session to try to unearth some good insights for the brand to help us with our upcoming project. And this is a very casual conversation. We want everybody to be able to kind of jump in with their insights, and it's going to be a great discussion. And then I would go ahead, present this. You can share screen if you're virtual, or you can hook this up to a monitor or to a display screen if you're in person and present this. So first thing is you need to set the tone by sharing with everybody what is the purpose and why are we hosting this brand strategy session, so people don't zone out. If they don't see a purpose, they'll just zone out. And I cover a few key points in the slide, which is that understanding the brand strategy allows us to unearth this unique personality, and we can craft an unforgettable brand using that. It also allows us to connect to the audience and stand out in the industry. It also helps us to make informed decisions rather than guessing. And from the context of branding, it helps us to design a brand that's not just visually attractive, but more importantly, strategically effective. And I'll also go over the 8 steps. So we have the vision, the mission, purpose, goals, audience analysis, the brand personality, positioning the brand, looking at competitors, and then finally kind of translating it to more visual is looking at visual references and brand look and feel. So this is perfect if you're a brand designer, or even if you're a social media manager or a photographer. This whole framework works, and it is universal for all of these different disciplines. If I'm hosting this session and it's one-on-one with a business founder, or if it's myself, usually it takes 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours to say if you're diving really deep. But if there's a lot of different people in the room, like 4, 5, or 6, I would break this down into 2 sessions, each session 1.5 to 2 hours, the first 4-part, and then the next 4 in the second session, because we really don't want this to feel like it's dragging on, and everything deserves a lot of attention. And the first exercise, I will zoom out and I will be taking notes on these stickies, and I will ask everyone in the room, what does this brand mean to you? And what this exercise does magically is it allows everybody to have spoken, to feel like their voices are heard, to feel like this session and workshop is actually useful because they are able to share their thoughts. It allows us to cut into the deeper aspects, allows us to skip the small talk and dive into exactly what this business means, especially to the founder. It's a very powerful question. Probably share with you the whole story behind why they founded this business, what is their vision for this business, where they see it going, and for other key stakeholders as well, and allows us to get a lot of thoughts and ideas on the table. And then we lead into step 1, which is understanding what's the vision, the mission, and the purpose. So I go ahead and ask 3 questions. So what problem do you solve? That's understanding the problem. How do you solve this problem? That's understanding their business, the solution that they bring. And then the vision, which is the end impact. And this is taking it from features to the benefit. So how are they going to benefit the world? And then try to translate this into a purpose statement, which also can be seen as a problem statement, and then their mission statement, and then a final vision statement. Then we move on to understanding the business goals. Now, this is really important. If you're a creative, you might be confused, like, why do I need to understand their business goals? Because you want to position yourself as an expert and a consultant rather than just an order taker. So understanding the business goals, it does a few things. 1, it just understands where they're going. When I'm building a brand, it needs to last for more than a couple of years. Ideally, it should last them the next few decades, and it can evolve with the business. So I need to know where they're going to be in 10 years and whether this brand is designed for that. Because if they're saying in 10 years' time, we envision us to be a global conglomerate, that means I need to understand a lot of the cultural context as to they're going to be visible in different cultures. So I need to make sure the logo is not inappropriate in different cultures. I need to understand a lot of background. And also for the service provider, for you, there is actually also a hidden benefit, which is that understanding, for example, if I'm building the brand right now, I understand, in their 2 to 3 year mark, they want to create a software. And I can pitch myself later down the track to say, now we've already done the brand, I can definitely help you with designing your software. And in 10 years, if they're saying, I envision us to have 4 multiple sub-branches and 4 sub-brands under this umbrella, then you can kind of get a good understanding of where you can put yourself in as a partner down the line to work on multiple different projects. So this helps position yourself as part of the growth of the brand down the line. But you'll find that a lot of businesses, they don't think too much about the long term. They'll think a lot about the short term. This really allows you to kind of open their minds as well. And if you can get the people on the call going, yes, I've never thought about that, that is a great sign. And then step 3 is audience analysis. So this is the most important section of this whole slide deck. And I tell them that. And I have this slide right here to let them know that this is the heart of successful branding, is creating alignment. So previous to this, all those different steps is how we want to be perceived, why we founded the business, what is our mission, what is our vision, and how are we solving everything. But now we're moving to the sphere of the target audience, because a brand isn't what we say it is, it's what they say it is. It's what the customers interpret. It is kind of like your reputation. So this is what I need to hone in on, and this is why we have to dive into this topic of who are we speaking to? Who are our audience segments? So for example, for me, I'm speaking to business owners, I'm talking to founders, but I'm also talking to designers as well, people who are similar to me that I can go back and teach them the ropes and how I got to where I am. So these are the 2 main personas, and that brings us into crafting personas. So this is one of the most important exercises, I believe, in any brand exercise, is to understand who you're talking to. So for example, if I'm talking to business founders or CEOs, then I will kind of dive into, so who are they? How old are they? You'll find that a lot of these hopes and dreams, the pains and frustrations of your target audience, they're very universal. So focus on these points. The bio and this kind of specific age, that's more as a reference. So I would usually name my persona and say maybe it would be Sarah, the business owner. But if you have actually past clients, what I would do I would name it as your favorite client, because this is your ideal target audience, remember? And this is what people say about niching. Niching is getting specific as possible, because when you're targeted like laser beam, when you target one spot, you get cut through. But if you're just like a spotlight, it's not as poignant and it's not as strong. So I would name this Coda. He is my best client ever. He's the nicest guy, and he is a super ambitious entrepreneur. He has multiple brands, and I would call him Coda, the CEO. And his bio, I'll kind of talk to a bit traits about him, how old he is, his education. But when you get to this is going to be really universal. So his hopes and dreams might be to create an impact, to create a successful business, to be able to scale. His pains and frustrations might be that he's not getting enough reach, he doesn't have a marketing team, he doesn't feel confident about his current brand, he's talking to investors and he doesn't want to seem amateurish. What is his barriers and uncertainties? He's worried that if he finds a freelancer or like a solo business, they might not be as reliable, but he sees it's too expensive. You can also go into a day in their life and just to understand him a little bit more, or you can even go through his ideal user journey. How would he find you? He might be searching on Google, good brand designers. And so that means you need to up your SEO game so that he can find you. But the most important thing that I focus on as a brand designer is looking at brands that you trust. This unearths a lot of insights. What car does he drive? Does he drive a Tesla? Does he own an Apple Watch? Is he a Rolex person? Does he drive a Mercedes or does he drive a Toyota? These all really tap into a lot of inner psychological workings of your target audience, and it really helps inform how you speak to them and how you present your brand. So I would do this for all the different target audience segments. And then if you have an existing brand in place, do a brand audit. And how you do this is you pull up the website or pull up the logos and the visual brand. If you're a photographer, pull up current brand imagery. If you are a videographer, if they have anything that's existing, look at it and get them to respond to it saying, what do you love about it? What can we improve upon it? Make sure to not look down on it because they've infused so much heart and soul and effort into this, to make sure you acknowledge that we are just improving and iterating upon it. Audit it, and audit in the lens of your target audience that you've defined. Give them a name as well. And then so you can say, hey, does Sarah like this brand now that we're looking at it? They'll say, oh no, my nephew designed this logo, no strategy came into it, we just needed something to get off the ground. Now, because you can filter all of this through the lens of your audience, a lot of founders are very attached to their own brand identity because they probably personally had a lot of input in it. They might have designed it themselves. But now you can filter it through the lens of Jonah and Sarah. Would they resonate with it? If not, then it's smart to explore other avenues. But if you don't have an existing brand and you're starting from scratch, then just skip this. So then we go into the brand personality. And what I use is a brand spectrum. So I would say, so look at your current brand if you have one. How friendly is it? Or how quirky is it? Or how conventional is it? And then you'll find that a lot of times the existing brand would be like kind of really formal, kind of conventional, not too modern, but dull, you'll find, or it's just not aligning to what we want to go. And so then you use this ideal marker and ask them, how do we want our brand to be perceived? And for my purpose, this is really visual. So it's like, how friendly does your brand want to be? How quirky does your brand want to be? Is it a modern brand, or is it more classic? Is it more fun, or is it more serious? Is it more affordable or more luxurious? Is it more warm or cool, more different or familiar, more feminine or masculine? And this gives me a lot of insights. But you can tailor these markers and spectrums on each side according to whatever you need. So you can go ahead and be creative with it. And then step 5 is brand positioning. And I share with them this quote from Philip Kotler, which describes positioning as the act of designing companies offering an image to occupy a distinctive place in the mind of the target audience. And that is what we're going to do through competitor analysis. So essentially what happens is you ask yourself, who is their key competitors that's playing in the industry? And then go ahead and pull up the website and compare which one you think is highly competitive, which one is not too competitive, what they would consider as poorly branded versus well branded, and then you can put them on this axis. And this way you get a good insight as to, because you might not have known who are the competitors, and also allows you to tap into what are all the highly competitive ones doing that's doing well, so you can learn from, but what your clients perceive as well branded versus poorly branded. So when you're branding, you can take cues from the ones in these quadrant and stay away from the ones here. And that would seamlessly then lead into visual references. So with all the competitors, pull up the website and go ahead and say, okay, which attributes do we like? What do we like? And what do we not like? And you'll be able to pull a lot of great insights. Like, for example, if they said they wanted to be like Apple, and you pull up Apple's website and it's too cold and too sleek and too masculine, but in the brand personality spectrum, you want it to be more warm and more feminine and more familiar, then there is a mismatch, so that you get to really hone into what does the audience want and filter through their perspective. And another important part is references to things we don't like. So this is really good because you don't want to create something and they come back to you say, no, this is not what we wanted. So you get to touch on, these are like the red flags, we definitely don't want to go there, and this is everything we can learn from. And I'd also encourage you to look at things outside of the industry, look into visual references like that as well. So now the next step is really tailored for brand designers, or if you're doing anything that's really creative and visual, is defining the brand's look and feel. And this is where you take the brand from an idea to a visual embodiment of that entity. And I use something called Stylescapes. So Stylescapes learned from Christo from the future, and I swear by it. And it is a collection of curated graphics that helps visualize the different creative directions we can take the brand moving forward. And this is an example that I created for a brand called Vertica. And I usually create 2 to 3 different variations depending on how exhaustive the client wants. And I usually do like a mild version, then a medium version, and then a spicy version. And this is the outcome of that. But you can see there is 3 words here. And for Vertica, they chose bold, inclusive, and refined. And essentially these are the key brand characteristics. So when I'm designing all of these, all of them are bold, inclusive, and refined in different ways. So this allows us to explore visual opportunities without being committed to one, so that you can present it back to them and they can respond, they can provide feedback, and you haven't spent too much time committing to a single direction. And then when I design the identity, so this is mostly all placeholder imagery. And then this is the final brand. So you can see how they chose the spicy version of bold, inclusive, and refined. And I turned that into a visual identity, into the website, into the social media, into all of these marketing materials. And it all started here, which is the brand looks and feels. So you ask them, if you want your brand to be described as anything, your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. So what do you want people to say about you? And I also have this list of keywords that you can respond to and pick out. And so, for example, if it's quirky, fun, and helpful, that's a very different vibe to sophisticated, premium, luxurious. So you can use this as a place to brain dump and then pick your final 3. And then this is the end of the brand strategy. And remember to finish off your whole presentation strong and say, thank you so much for your time. This has been incredibly insightful. I'm going to go ahead and design for your brand that looks premium, luxurious, and inviting. Then you go into the next step, because this is going to be the first project kickoff call. Lead into, by the end of next week, you'll be able to see 3 different visual and logo explorations, for example, and let me know if you have any questions, but I really appreciate your time. And voila, and then you can click out of this, ask them, how did you find it? Get some feedback. And you'll find that usually people will be smiling, people will be saying, thank you so much for your time. This was really insightful. I'm really glad we did this. And there you go. You have positioned yourself as a branding expert, and this will help you in your project moving forward 100%. And if you're running this for your own business, it will uncover so many insights and allow you to create a brand that is actually strategically aligned with your vision and your audience moving forward. Thank you so much. If you enjoyed this video, you can check out this playlist over here where I dive into everything entrepreneurship, branding, marketing, and I also have a podcast, so you can find me there. Take care, and I'll see you next one. Bye.